Hey everyone, this is Miss Shannon back again with another book review for you. This month, the month of November, is Native American Heritage Month, so all of my book reviews this month will be based around that topic. Our first review for the month is from a book called Undefeated, the story of Jim Thorpe and the Carlisle Indian School football team. This was a really interesting read, so I hope you enjoy. Undefeated, Jim Thorpe and the Carlisle Indian School Football Team by Steve Sheinkin. This is a book for history buffs and football fanatics alike. Everyone's going to be struck by this tale of grit, raw athleticism, and triumph in the face of institutionalized racism. Sheinkin maps out the history of football from its infant form as a brutal display of force and violence to the game of speed, agility, and teamwork that we know today. Who do we have to thank for our beloved modern-day version of football? The little-known legacy of the Carlisle Indian School football team. Something that you may have never heard of. I hadn't heard about it until I had read this book. Like all boarding schools for Native Americans in the early 20th century, the Carlisle Indian School was founded to assimilate Indian children to white culture, killing the Indian within. That was their actual motto. Indian youth forced into these schools were required to abandon their native culture, forced to cut their long hair, wear European-style clothing, forbidden to speak in their native languages, and even forced to change their names. Not only were they stripped of everything familiar to them, including their families, but they were also forced to do grueling work in addition to attending a full day of classes. So imagine going to JML all day to learn and then being forced to clean JML and build different parts of JML and have a garden at JML and just do all of these different jobs that wouldn't be expected of students today. While doing all of this work, they were also fed extremely poor meals, poor nutrition, and not enough food. This actually led to a lot of students dying. So a lot of them who were completely healthy when they arrived at school actually lost their lives because of the harsh conditions of the school. So in this terrible environment, athletics was one of the only escapes that an Indian student could enjoy. Indian boys, at least. Indian girls were not permitted to play sports. On the football field, restless and unhappy students like Jim Thorpe found an outlet in physical activity, a place to express their intelligence, natural skills, and oftentimes a place to let out that aggression that they had because of the terrible circumstances that they faced. When the Carlisle Indian School's football team first began competing against leagues at other colleges and industrial schools, pro football didn't exist back then, so it was just college football, they were seen as laughable. They were much smaller in build and height than most of the burly white football players, and everyone thought that they would be crushed in the game that at the time relied on brute strength to push the ball across the field and into the end zone. Not only that, but the Carlisle players often had just one string of players to play an entire game, while other colleges had second and even third string players to replace exhausted or injured players during a game. And there were a lot of injuries back then in football. A lot. Not only did they lack in size and resources, but they also faced prejudice at every turn. Referees were quick to call fouls on the Indian team, but let white teams openly slug and punch Indian players in the face. Newspapers described the Indian team as savage and tricky, often depicting them in costume-like Indian garb that didn't reflect their true culture, while white teams were portrayed as all-American heroes and defenders of the nation. Despite all of this, the Carlisle Indian School rose to be the most formidable team in the league in under a decade. Rather than beat the whites at their brutal game, which often became so rough that it led to fatalities, they changed the game entirely, using inventive plays, speed, and teamwork, elevating the sport to a whole new level, and ultimately saving it from being banned. At the time, so many young people were dying on the football field that the country almost banned it completely. With the help of unstoppable athletes like Jim Thorpe, who later went on to win many gold medals in the Olympics, the Carlisle Indian School defied all expectation and forced mainstream media to see Native Americans as equals, during a time when they were treated as less than human. Sports fans will love Scheinken's rich descriptions of some of the most epic football games in history, while lovers of American history will be enthralled by this little-known story of the underdog triumphing over Goliath. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I am not a sports person. I do not watch football. It's not a topic I'm necessarily interested in, but this book was really good. So, if you would like to read it, it is available in physical form, so you can get it from curbside pickup or book bus delivery. And you can fill out the request form and come pick it up. So, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye, guys.